Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt, and welcome back to Farlands or Bust. Here we are. Whoa, hello. Torch. Here we are once again in the Farlands or Bust world. Grass. I will destroy you. Breaking out of last episode's mountainside hidey hole. Got a creeper crew hanging out on the mountain there of... What did I call that? That was like a mountain of 2013 to 2014-ness or something like that. But speaking of the number 14, this is episode 314. It is Wednesday, November 8th, 2014. Did I say 314? Yeah, 314, 2014, 14, 14, 14. And we are continuing to walk to the Farlands in a east-westward direction, and seeing the sights along the way and whatnot. This might be kind of dangerous. This is where I saw the creepers, but I said in the last episode I would scale this gradual mound of awesomeness, so I shall do so. Ooh. It's a hollow, almost hollow mound of awesomeness, with a tiny little block of snow on top. But yeah, episode 314, you guys are awesome because you're still continuing to donate to Child's Play charity over at farlandsrobust.com. We're currently at $168,516.72. So I do appreciate, of course, as always, from atop the clouds, the continued support for Child's Play charity. Oh, I totally missed that kind of cool little area over there, too. Wolfie's excited. He's probably getting a little bit delirious due to the lack of oxygen at this altitude. Alright, this was a poor idea. Poor idea. Let's let's go back down the way we came up, I believe, is probably the safest thing to do. This way is a little bit gradual. Alright, take a little bit of a detour. Voice crack. How are you doing for health? He's doing good. Indeed. So yes, today, like I said, is November 8th. I do have a little bit of an announcement, I suppose. The fine folks over at Spreadshirt have informed me that they are having a sale. Careful, Wolfie! A sale 20% off, which is almost one of the biggest sales. It's normally like 10 or 15% off, but 20% off with no minimum purchase. Starting today, the 18th, or I'm sorry, the 8th through next Tuesday, the 14th of January. So if you want to take 20% off, no minimum purchase at Spreadshirt. It's farlands.spreadshirt.com is the Farlands or Bust Spreadshirt shop. Let's be creative and use this water that I rarely ever use. And hopefully this is safe. Oh, it doesn't seem safe. Yeah. Safe. Hopefully for Wolfie as well. Yeah, kind of. Although his tail is a little bit further down than it was previously. So yeah, 20% off. farlands.spreadshirt.com using the code MONEY20. Money20. And I'll have to check. That should be available for both the US and the European storefronts, but sometimes it's only the US. So I'll have to check that and check the video description if you want further information about that. But I believe that probably also works at all the other Spreadshirt shops that all of your favorite YouTubers use. Your Mindcrack, your Good, your BOO, your Zstos. Baj, I know, has a store. Quite a few of us have stores, so I believe that all works together. So, haha! Check that out. I did notice around the Christmas season before the shipping deadline, there were quite a few orders. So I'm assuming quite a few of you got some Farlands or Bust paraphernalia in your stockings this holiday season. So that's always awesome. But let's see, what else do we want to talk about? Well, I guess, speaking of Mindcrack, I did mention in the last episode that the Play Mindcrack server is up and running. Still technically in kind of an in-progress beta, but it's open beta, so you can go with the current version of Minecraft to us.playmindcrack.com. It's currently, the servers are located in the US. I believe eventually, given whether or not we have success, we might expand to more local areas, to Europe and etc. But right now it's us.playmindcrack.com is the server address, and mini-games and museum servers where you can check out the old Mindcrack seasons. You could go to the Mindcrack Royal Observatory and or BOO's Arena, the Good's Ark, all that fun stuff. And it's a good time. And eventually, I haven't had time to, but we want to. Beef has started a series where he's playing some of the survival games and things on there. I would like to do that as well. I had some fun playing survival games on a different server with Beef a couple months ago, or last month. Maybe that was last month. And I believe more of that is in order, and that's kind of the reason we made and decided to make a Mindcrack-themed mini-game server open to the public, is so that we, as video makers, would be able to say, okay, we're on our own server here, and here are people who know us and our fans, and being able to make videos with fans and stuff like that. So very cool indeed. Oh, this seems a little bit dangerous, like it's going to collapse underneath us at any moment, but it didn't. It didn't. My fears were not founded. Aha. Indeed, woof. A lot of sand. What else here? Oh, I have some astronomy news. There is some very interesting solar activity going on right now. There's a large sunspot. Sunspot AR1944, for those of you keeping score. It's facing Earth at the moment, and it recently, just yesterday, released an X1 flare. There's different classes to flares, and X is the highest. I mean, there have been much larger. There's been X30-something flares, but, X1 flares, almost like, the Richter scale, an earthquake scale. But there's been an X1 flare yesterday, and they're anticipating, since it was Earth-facing when that happened, that it could cause a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Active auroral activity. Say your northern lights will be very active in the coming nights. Specifically, January 9th is when the solar wind is due to arrive. And that's very cool. So if you do live in the upper northern latitudes or longitudes? Longitudes. No. Longitudes are up and down. Latitudes. Yeah, that's right. Right? Sure. If you live in the upper, maybe even down, if it's very powerful, they could be seen as far down here as Chicago and things like that. But keep an eye on that if you do live up north. In the northerly regions, check that out. Obviously, the southern hemisphere, the further south you go, the more daylight you're going to get, since it's summer down there, so the biggest advantage is to those in the north. So check that out. And also, very interestingly enough, today was supposed to be the launch of the next, what's it called? Cygnus? Yeah, the Cygnus. Ah, careful, Wuffy! Wait, why did you jump in front of me whilst I was trying? Oh, and then you made me place my boat? No, sit back down. Here, have some iron. No, sit, I say. Bones. There we go, that's what I meant to do. Alright. Hey, stay still. Alright, quickly now, before he comes back into frame. Woo. Yoink. Alright, I think this boat is salvageable. Get. There we go. And away we go as the sun is setting. Good timing. But yeah, the Orbital Sciences, kind of a competitor, I guess you could say, although they're working side by side, of SpaceX, resupply ships to the International Space Station. Their first official, they did the test docking and everything. This was their first official resupply mission to the International Space Station, was actually scrubbed this morning because of the solar activity. It exceeded, they have safety thresholds for when they can fly their spacecraft, and due to the solar storm activity, they had to scrub it, and they're going to try again on Thursday if the solar activity subsides by then. So that is kind of an interesting side effect. I mean, solar wind and solar storms can also affect communications with, we have satellites high in orbit, such as GPS satellites. It can affect those things. So if you have some problems connecting to your GPS in the coming days, that might be why. Also, cell phone, anything over the air can be affected, and even power grids. Power grids can be affected by intense solar activity. I don't know if that's anticipated with any of this. This is an X flare coming towards us, but there have been more serious situations. Not life-threatening or anything like that, though. Not a problem. But let's go to sleep. This is life-threatening. Staying up too late. And a solar flare-ness. Right, Wolfie? Shake, 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 shake. Woof! Gymnastically jump into the boat. So yeah, that was really cool. I thought that was very interesting news to wake up to. That they had to scrub a rocket launch, unmanned rocket launch. I don't know. I'd have to look in the history books if there have been any space shuttle or manned rocket launches that have been delayed as a result of solar activity. I wonder. Although I didn't, that's some sort of trivia. Human spaceflight trivia to look up. I'm not sure. I mean, I know those on the space station, there are 6 astronauts on the space station right now. They're safe because even at, say, 300 miles, well, they're not 300 miles up, they're like 220 miles up, like 300 kilometers up, they're still within the majority of the protection of the planet Earth's magnetic protection field, force field. No, the magnetic protection. So they're generally okay. I mean, they're exposed to more radiation than, say, you and I on the ground, obviously. But that's very interesting regardless. I'm sure even they might anticipate issues with their communications and things like that, maybe on and off, but they're all prepared for such things. Look at all these waterfalls. That one is quite awesome. Hi, how are you? It's the Valley of the Waterfalls. Ba 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 ba. That's the theme song to the Valley of the Waterfalls. Oh, there's 2 over here. Woof. What do you see? Alright, let's get out of here. Sorry, Wolfie, you'll have to teleport. What else am I looking at? Oh, a couple... I'll mention this just because I found it interesting and because I'm running out of things to talk about. A couple episodes ago, or was it last episode? No, a couple episodes ago, I talked about the whole content ID thing. YouTube channels, particularly those with networked partnerships, partnered through networks like your Polaris, your Machinimas, your XYZ companies. A lot of changes going on with that. And I kind of mused. I wondered if it affected any non-gaming channels like vloggers or just your random, your non-gaming style YouTube channels. And I'm not. This is I don't think related to the Content ID situation, but it is related as far as my thoughts on networks. I kind of mentioned how now that the Content ID applies to the majority of those partnered with networks, if they're not managed partners, only the big name, the big viewed channels end up being privileged enough to becoming managed partners. The affiliate partners who are subject to the standard YouTube Content ID, I kind of mentioned how there's no, as far as a gaming channel is concerned, there's no benefit now to being networked with being partnered with a network. And, one of 2 things has to happen. Either the networks have to step up and start managing channels actively to provide this service in exchange for the hefty chunk of people's ad revenue that they take, or they're just going to lose all these partners because they're going to say, hey, you're not doing anything for me, why am I paying you 40% or whatever. They're going to lose all these partners, and the networks themselves are going to struggle to survive. I don't, I can't say. This is a little bit of hearsay. I'm taking this from different blog posts and just random news sources. Not to do with the content ID or anything like that, but just networks in general. One of the bigger and biggest channels on YouTube, Daily Grace. She's a vlogging channel. She had on her Daily Grace channel, Grace Helbig is her actual name, and she had 2.4 million subscribers. So maybe not quite your 11 million that the Yogscast has, but for a vlogging channel, that's, she was the top of the top. YouTube themselves always used her in their kind of promo videos and, the year-end recaps that they do. She's always a featured person and stuff like that. She was networked for the past 5 years through a network called My Damn Channel. And the contract, I suppose, was up at the end of last year, and there's been no details. She doesn't really talk about it. Maybe it's quite possible that as part of the agreement she can't talk about it, which is a little bit shady, but the contract expired. I suppose they weren't offering her enough reason to stay, as I was mentioning before, networks needing to offer something to their partners to give them a percentage of their revenue and whatnot. Perhaps there wasn't something going on there, and she decided to now become an independent, like myself. I'm networked directly through AdSense and YouTube, Google, an independent YouTube channel, but as part of her contract with My Damn Channel, said that My Damn Channel, the network, owned her channel, Daily Grace, and all the content associated with it. So all the videos she's made in that 5 years, for all the ones that have gone viral, and she's gained, like I said, 2.4 million subscribers. The channel itself, those 2.4 million subscribers, she had to let go. My Damn Channel still owns that, and actually My Damn Channel is now re-uploading old videos of hers, which they own, and presumably they're making 100% of the ad revenue from those, and she's not seeing a dime. But she had to give that up, so now she's at a different channel, one of her secondary channels that was not partnered through My Damn Channel, and she's starting over. She started over from pretty much scratch. I believe she's now up to maybe 300 or 400,000 subscribers, which I can tell you, I can make a living off of that. But so that's kind of a crazy thing, especially in such a high-profile case as that. Careful, Wolfie, that's a chasm to nowhere. So I just found that to be really interesting, and yet another, like I said, one way or the other, the networks either have to start stepping up their game or they're going to fall by the wayside. This is more evidence that they're falling by the wayside. It also happened, another channel I liked who happened to be with My Damn Channel was Coffee Chat, a much smaller channel, about 10,000 subscribers, I believe. But her contract was up, another vlogger channel. But as part of the contract, all the channel and all the videos she made on that channel belonged to My Damn Channel, so she had to bail and is now at a different channel she created, I believe called Random Ass Girly Channel. But yeah, I always wonder what the motivation for a vlog channel is to join a network. Obviously, before this whole content ID situation, the big draw for us gaming channels was to have some of that protection from the content ID, and you assumed anyway that these bigger networks had ins and contacts with the gaming communities and developers and publishers, although it's turning out more and more that they don't at all. That was the big draw, at least for gaming channels. But I never saw what your vlogger could get out of it. Perhaps the promise of more exposure. You join a network, and then you're able to do collaboration videos with the bigger channels, your Daily Graces or your Epic Meal Times or whatever. Also, I suppose maybe there's a little bit, especially in kind of the West Coast LA area, that connection with Hollywood, and maybe you assume the networks would act as kind of agents, and they would book you different publicity things and whatnot. But, since you're just sitting in front of a camera, basically, all these people edit their own videos and record their own videos, generally. I don't see what the benefit is to them joining networks. Perhaps since I'm not a vlogger, I don't see the nuances, and maybe in some cases when you network with our channel, we'll have a staff of people who can help you edit your videos and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I don't have any evidence of that. Again, hearsay, complete speculation, and random gossip from Kurt J. Mac. Totally out of character. But yeah, that was just kind of an interesting happenstance. So obviously she has a huge plethora of a community of people she's worked with. Daily Grace, I'm speaking of, who have raised the signal boost, and now people are noticing, okay, don't subscribe to Daily Grace. She doesn't own that anymore. Subscribe to her new channel, It's Grace, I believe it's called. And so, she'll be okay, but there are these other smaller channels, like I mentioned, the Coffee Chat, and even ones that maybe we've never even heard of, who, at the time when they don't decide to renew with their network, lose all of the content. And that is a big no-no in my books. I don't know if any gaming channels are subject to that. It all depends on the contract, I suppose. I know Machinima is well known for having pretty abusive-ish contract terms where they were doing lifetime contracts and things like that. And, you can't start up another channel without our permission, or it will be under contract. Blah, 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 blah. Speculation, hearsay, total non-truthiness. But yeah, interesting news on the YouTube front. Let's go to sleep and try to hunt for more things to talk about in the morning. And awakeness. Spalooshness. Woof. I guess speaking of YouTube, there have been changes, a few changes going on. One of those, which I'm looking forward to hopefully talking to somebody at YouTube about to get confirmation, but the word on the street is that the shows feature is disappearing, being phased out. Well, it's definitely being phased out. The shows features, for those who don't know, kind of like an advanced playlist. And actually, the reason why these Far Lands or Bust episodes, the reason why Mindcrack and my Kerbal Space Program, even my Castaway was a show, they have kind of, they follow the season episode format, which was really helpful for these type of episodic Let's Plays. You would add them to shows, you would get special show artwork. If you ever looked in old episodes of Far Lands or Bust and looked at the description, careful woofy, and expanded the description, there was always a little box that had a Far Lands or Bust logo in it, and this is season 4, episode blah blah blah, and gave a little synopsis and TV ratings. That was the shows feature, and people could actually look at the shows as if they were their own channels, and people could subscribe if people didn't want to, for whatever reason. I don't see why you would want to do this, but if you wanted to subscribe just to, say, Far Lands or Bust, but not Kurt J. Mac, the channel, you could do that and only get Far Lands or Bust in your sub feed. That's going away. Partly because there was never any support for it. They kind of introduced it. It was a feature you either had to be partnered with a network to obtain, or like myself, BOO, you get to a certain point, and we were able to talk to people within YouTube who enabled that feature for us a couple years ago. It was kind of a special feature, but they're getting rid of it. It used to be at youtube.com/shows is where you can navigate all the shows. There was a specific gaming section, but that has since been replaced with a lot more of a Hulu, Netflix style, where you can get actual networked rent or own seasons of television shows from your NBC, Fox, those big channels, as opposed to just your standard YouTuber shows. So that's unfortunate. And that is why lately my Far Lands or Bust, my Mindcrack, my Kerbal Space programs haven't been added to the shows lists, even though I could. The thing I've noticed is that you can't create new shows or new seasons of shows, I believe, which is going to be most apparent here when we finally do our Flobathon and end this Season 4 of Far Lands or Bust. So it's definitely being phased out, although I don't have a specific... Careful, Wolfie, that was a kind of a hole that you could have fallen down. Yep, you survived. Oh god, yep, you survived. Alright, well done. I need some wood here, so let me grab this tiny tree. So yeah, that's being phased out, and in YouTube's I need some wool while I'm at it as well. Let me get my shears out so I remember if I see a sheep. In their infinite wisdom, in phasing out the shows, it has messed with that. Like I mentioned, there was a TV ratings guide style thing you had to apply to shows. It's removed that so that some of the older episodes in the shows that I've had and everybody else, when we rated them, the only option was to rate them by the TV ratings, like TVY, TV 12, or, whatever the TV ratings are. I would do mine TVY, which is acceptable for all audiences, I believe, or something like that. They've removed that, so now all those episodes that were rated TVY are now unrated, and they are age blocked. If you're logged in and you've indicated that you are a certain age, they are age blocked. And I've started going through, but there are so many that have that problem, and I'm just not sure how to fix it and which are which, because, as I've said, the show's interface is somewhat half-built and isn't really at all usable, especially now that they're abandoning it. So I don't know. I think, the main way to fix that is to remove the show entirely, but I'm a little bit concerned about losing... There's a few thousand people who subscribe to, say, the Kerbal Space Program show or the Far Lands or Bust show. I'm afraid those people might not be aware. They might all be dead subs by now, but they're all dead. They went down with the show ship. The show ship? So I'm a little bit concerned about that. I'm also concerned, a very positive and a reason why we wanted shows on our accounts to begin with, is it really helps with the search rankings on YouTube. Like, if you search Kerbal Space Program, you don't get a video on the top of the list. You get my show, the Kerbal Space Program show, which I believe, given the fact that I'm not all that expert at that game, is probably the reason why it is a popular show series on my channel. And once we lose the show, I will lose that search ranking, and I will starve. No, it's kind of a... I'm not sure what to do. I want to hear officially from YouTube, yes, we're getting rid of shows. Any shows that you have will disappear by this date. And then I'll say, okay, whatever, I'll delete my shows. No problem. And then that should resolve the age restriction thing. If it is the fact that, oh, we're removing shows, but any shows that exist right now will remain, I'm like, I'll have to weigh the pros and cons of keeping versus not keeping the shows that I do have. So that is a very lengthy way to tell you guys what's up with the shows on YouTube. I hope in response to that they increase the playlist limit of 200 episodes per playlist, because that's now the only way we can organize our quote-unquote shows. Now that we have adopted this episodic and season-style formatting of our shows, thanks to the show's feature, it would be nice to kind of continue those, and hopefully the functionality is there with the playlists option on YouTube. YouTube. Forever making the greatest of decisions with our best interests in mind. What else? Speaking of Flobathon and the end of the season, I'm still trying to decide when to have it. I I've been looking, and I was looking at, not this weekend, but next weekend, Saturday, January 18th. I think it is a long weekend for you young whippersnappers in school, because Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and usually, at least from what I remember, they made that previous Friday, at least in public schools, that previous Friday a teacher institute day where you had a day off, so it was normally like a 4-day weekend, I think, I could be wrong. So I was thinking that weekend would be good, but I looked at the calendar, and that's a lot closer than I anticipated, so I'm not sure. So don't go making plans for that weekend or anything like that. That is going to be not a long shot, because it's so close, a short shot. If it happens on that weekend, I also need to check everything else that might be going on that weekend. I don't want a conflict of events or schedules or things like that, so that probably won't happen. It probably won't happen. I was thinking about that. I gotta just stop thinking and start doing, as the inspirational poster said. Hang in there. So yeah, still thinking about that. I feel like, I need to get back on the Far Lands or Bust bus. Getting these episodes, I feel like I need to get a more regular thing out here, and then get to a nice, comfortable spot in this world where I can say, yes, this is the point where I can say I will start the Flobathon Marathon from this position, and then after that we will press F3 at the end of that to find out how far we have walked. But some patience is in order. Like I said, I do continue to appreciate the continued support for Child's Play charity over at farlandsbus.com, and all the donations that continue to come in that helps get toys, books, games to kids in hospitals around the world. Great cause. You can learn more at childsplaycharity.org. I'm going to set up camp right here, and hopefully the boat doesn't fly away too far, so I can just use it in the morning. But yeah, let's have Wolfie sit down. We have our own little private island. Hey, you there. Oh, and then he pushes me. Yeah, you. I was talking to you. Woof. Alright, let's do this. Light that up. Have a good night, sir. Let's make the final hidey hole of the episode. I need to go one deeper here, because we're at the surface. Bloop. And what was I going to say? Yeah, I appreciate the continued support. Child's Play charity. And I'm looking forward to being able to thank everybody for that support with a Flobathon, and finally pressing F3 to celebrate how far we have come here in Farlands or Bust. And of course, at the F3 monument, I have to, as promised from episode 200, plant down the glowstone lamp. Well, not lamp, but just the glowstone block and netherrack kind of ensemble atop the F3 monument for this season. What do we got to do? We got to make some beds. We have enough for our beds, enough wool, for our beds, but I'm going to need some next episode. So remind me. Please remind me. And boop, boop, boop. We will do that. I already have a boat out there, so that's no problem. Although I'll probably need another one soon, so why not? And yeah, I believe that wraps up episode 314 of Farlands or Busts. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Kurt. I will see you next time.